if you've ever spent any time outside, hanging out in the woods, or you've probably heard this name pop up here and there, Brent Ivy. Now, through his work with conservation, wildlife education, the Dallas Safari Club of the East Texas chapter, Brent has helped connect people with outdoors while also giving back to the community. But tonight we're talking about him. We're putting the spotlight on him and his adventures with his family. He's joining us now. Here, let me pull up your camera, buddy. All right. What was the last trip you got to be a part of with you and your family?
Last month, I got the last week in June, we were in Colorado.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Now, where were you in Colorado?
So every year we try to go, my wife and I have always tried to go up to Estes Park because she grew up going to a summer camp up there where she kind of fell in love with horseback riding, mountain climbing, that sort of thing. And so we've tried to go up to Colorado at least once a year, and usually, I'd say every other year we end up in Estes Park because Rocky Mountain National Park's, it's one of the wonders of the world. So we went up there. Second year we took our kids. We actually took both of our moms this year to kind of help wrangle. And so, we got to spend a week in Colorado. Right when temps were getting really hot here is when we were in Colorado.
That's when you were running to the mountains to get away.
I wish I was there today.
Oh my gosh, it is so hot today. Whew. But going back to your love for the outdoors, when did that start for you? I know you mentioned your wife, and that's kind of like your escape to Colorado is through her. What made you fall in love with wilderness?
My dad, our family growing up, my dad, he was a environmental contractor for large timber companies like Temple Inland based out of Diboll in East Texas. I'm from Nacogdoches. Diboll's, just south of Lufkin. And so his job was outside. So I spent my summers going to work with my dad out in the woods. In our family, he's always been into whitetail deer management, running several properties and things like that. So like if I wasn't in school, I wasn't on the baseball field, we were in the woods. So that's kind of how it started.
Do you have a really fun memory that kind of stays with you when you think about maybe your dad spending time with him in the outdoors?
Lots of. I'm trying to think of one I could say on here, just funny things that have happened. But I know that. So I have twin sisters that are 2 years younger than me, and like I can remember, and I'm going through it now with my kids because they're 5 and 3. Is my dad trying to take us hunting, and he's still trying to be serious and everything, and he's got a 4-year-old boy and then 2 twin toddlers in a box blind. And back then they didn't have the cool fiberglass. I think now they make deer stands with like air conditioners and solar panels on them and stuff like that.
Yes, the kind that are like see-through on the inside but not on the outside. Yeah.
Back then it was just plywood boxes, and they didn't have platforms for them mostly, so they were just like it's like a tree house. And so we always kind of viewed it as like being up in a tree house, but I mean like that's we had a lot of fun as kids going hunting with our parents. Thankfully my mom likes to do it too, so it was kind of a family affair.
Oh, I love that. And I'm sure you probably try to instill that in your kiddos now. I mean, they're quite young, but what does that look like trying to inspire your babies to love nature?
Not taking it as seriously as, like, say I do when I'm hunting for myself, is you kind of, hey, this is going to be an experience. I want them to have a good time. And, this past year he was 4 at the time, my oldest, and it was more of like, there's deer and hogs and stuff out there running around, but it's like this place we're hunting, the west border is a train track that's about a mile away, and so he was more interested in like how many engines the trains had. Like that was what he was interested in, and so it's just kind of like, okay, here comes another train, and there's a deer out there. He's like, when's the next train coming? And so just really making the experience fun for them, because they'll eventually grow into it or they won't, but let them make their own decision. So
right, try not to force it.
Right.
And I'm sure that's hard because you want to have those same experiences that you did with your dad, and that way that kind of tradition passes along, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's tough. But that reminded me, growing up in Brownsboro, I had a cousin who would put the pennies on the railroad tracks to flatten them out. Have y'all done that? I don't know if that's still allowed.
So there's a restaurant in Nacogdoches, if you've ever eaten at Clear Springs or Antipasta's is an Italian restaurant now. When I was a kid, Antipasta's was a Mexican food restaurant, and it had right behind the restaurant is a railroad track, and it's right really close to the city baseball park. And so it was always like after games, all the team, on Friday and Saturday night, it was just full of kids in baseball uniforms. And like, nowadays there's an iron fence, picket fence where you can't get to the rail track. Back then, you could, the kids, like the parents would be in there settling up their tabs or finishing dinner. The kids were out running around on the railroad tracks, and so it was always like when you could hear that train coming, we'd go get money and we'd put them up, and then we'd go out and try to find the flat coins afterwards. But yeah, that doesn't happen anymore these days.
Now, looking back at your time with your family, what is something that you learned from your dad hanging out in the deer blind?
How to be patient and appreciate nature.
Yeah.
It's not about, a lot of times you have people who go hunting and they think, oh, well, I didn't get a buck, or, I didn't get any ducks today or dove or whatever, and they view that as a failure, because they didn't get something.
Right.
And a lot of it's just about the experience, who you're with, what you're doing, and just, being able to be in God's creations. It gives you peace, gives you patience. That's something that's taught, that you just kind of, you learn it there.
Yeah.
And having a mentor that teaches you that way, because I still know, I've told you before, I teach hunters education, and
Yes.
so there are different stages of hunters where you have your beginner and you're trying to learn, and then you get into they call it the phase where it's all about success. I've got to get a buck. I've got to get a limit of ducks or a limit of dove. And I know guys that are my age. I know a couple guys that are my dad's age that never got out of they call it the limiting out phase. That never made it past that. And then you progress into, being a mentor, or being a trophy hunter, and then the giving back phase where you get to where, you're taking other people hunting and helping, kind of mentor them into that. So it's really interesting how that works with people. And so having someone who did it the right way and has been through those stages and is at that point in their life, that's kind of who you want to learn from. If you learn from someone who just thinks that, well, it wasn't a good time because I didn't get anything, you're probably never going to be satisfied. You're never going to be hunting because, 99% of the time you're not successful. So.
And who can say that they're getting to watch the sunrise through East Texas trees? There's nothing else better than it. That'll make you appreciate patience.
Well, coming back from Colorado, I'd say sunrise over the mountains is really, really hard to beat.
Oh, yes, yes.
But just that, get it. Usually when you're out deer hunting, you're in the dark. You're sitting in the dark long before the sun comes up, and then as you get those gradual increases in light and you see things, and it's just kind of like revealing. It's like a shade slowly being pulled back, and you're like, okay, I can see now. And that's just and you're all by yourself. It's all quiet. It's just a really neat experience.
Have you ever had anything spooky happen when you were out in the trails?
Yes. Believe it or not, people, if you spend any time on Facebook,
oh yes,
I'm sure you've seen posts about Black Panthers in East Texas.
Yes.
Okay, so Black Panther is kind of a misnomer. You can have black deer. It's called a melanistic. It's a pigmentism thing, just kind of like albinoism.
Yes.
So
just the opposite.
There may be a genetic anomaly to where there is a dark colored cat, but it's not like a species where there are these things that only come out. They never get caught on camera, but there really are what we would call mountain lions or pumas. There are those in East Texas. I think one got caught on. I think an officer hit one in Longview last year.
Yes, I remember the photos. They were circulating online.
They do exist, and I heard one time in Nacogdoches at night, and we went looking in the area the next day and found a deer that had been covered up with brush and things like that. Like no other predator really does that kind of thing. And so, just that, it literally sounds like a woman screaming.
Yes.
And like you talk about chill your blood.
Because I'm sure, miles away from any kind of road or civilization, to hear that lady screaming in the darkness, it sends a chill up you.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And I've never seen one alive. My dad has seen one alive back when I was a kid, but they're very wary of people. You see them a lot more in West Texas and South Texas just because the brush is shorter. People use helicopters to do surveys.
Right.
But they do exist here. And they have really, really large home ranges, They can have 100 square mile home range out there, and they're very solitary animals. They're kind of like, they're not like deer that herd up or whatever. Like they kind of, once they're raised, they go out and they're solitary. Until they mate or whatever, and so you just don't see a lot of them. And like here in East Texas, you got a lot of roads, a lot of urbanization that has chopped things up, so it's just highly unlikely. And there's really, really large forests for them to hide in, and they're not stupid, so you don't see a lot of them.
And it's probably they're doing of that, wanting to hide away. Any other spooky stories from late night hunts or early morning in the deer blinds?
That's probably the spookiest thing. I will say that being disturbed by because when you're out in the woods and you think that, and this is one of the reasons why, as the deer leases that we manage and that we have, is we have like a sign-in board that has like a map where you pin in where you're going to be, and I'm hunting this stand or whatever, I'm hunting this area, is because when you're hunting a property with lots of different people who are out there, is like being in there, and like, I won't say that I haven't fallen asleep in a deer stand as I'm waiting for the sun to come up. You get out there pretty early, but like have someone who's creeping through and they're going to hunt the same stand, and there wasn't a sign in, or you forgot to sign in, where somebody comes in on you and you think you're out in the middle of nowhere, nothing in the dark, and like that's very, very scary. I've had that happen a couple of times, mostly not to me, but like to some of my deer listeners. Like, that's why we use the sign-in board,
Yes.
But yeah, I've got lots of stories about funny things, interesting things about that. It's funny because even though I mentioned my dad as who got me into this and kind of mentored me through it, the first buck I ever got, I was actually with my mom.
Really?
Yeah, that was awesome to experience. I was 10, and we were really just drinking Dr. Peppers and eating honey buns and didn't expect anything. And a buck came out and took a shot. It was kind of getting dark, and we couldn't find a trail or anything like that. And when you're younger, you use a smaller caliber rifle because they don't kick as bad, and so couldn't find any kind of blood trail or anything like that. And we ended up finding the deer, and my dad had actually been guiding some other people hunting, and so like everybody gets back to camp, everybody came home empty-handed, and here I am with my mom as my guide, and we got this big buck. And so
And how old were you?
I was 10.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was really fun.
Oh, I bet.
And that for my mom too. So.
Did you have a moment or have you ever had a moment where an animal that you were hunting or trying to pursue outsmarted you?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. Like, I mean, it's with all the technologies you have these days, game cameras, they have game cameras that are linked to your cell phone that will send you live pictures and stuff. And
Right.
so this time of year, summer, and I go to whitetail deer because I know that's what I know most about. But like summertime, they're in bachelor groups, so you have a bunch of the bucks are together. They hang out together, they feed together, and so this time of year we're getting trail cam pictures of bucks in velvet, and they're all hanging out together, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be so easy, because we put out supplemental feed stations on our places because it tends to get really hot and dry in the summertime, so you always want to make sure a deer's not going to grow a big rack if their body's in poor condition, so we really focus on keeping their bodies in good condition. And so you see that, and it really is almost like when deer season opens, it's like they have it on their calendar too, and that's when they disappeared. I mean, like there was this deer just this year that my wife and I had been hunting for her to get a really, really big buck, and we kept watching him. I mean, it's like, it's like we're having to work during the week, and so it's like weekends is when we would go out, and he'd be like at the same place, like clockwork, every day, every time. And then you go in, doesn't show up. You're really quiet, doesn't show up. And I mean, like he would come in after we get a picture on the thing and be like, he came in 30 minutes after we were there, and so you think that these animals are dumb, they're not sophisticated, or whatever, but it's like their noses are way better than us,
Oh
their
yeah.
ears are way better, their eyes are way better, like. They know when somebody comes treading in on their turf, and so like you can think like, oh, I've got all this evidence of this animal that's here, and like you may never see it, not in daylight anyway. So, yeah, I get outsmarted probably every year.
Do you think that with, like you said, with clockwork, people going out at a certain time every year, that the animals have come accustomed to it when they know to, like, evolving over time, okay, it's getting chillier, which means the people are coming.
Absolutely. And I was talking about the bachelor groups in the summertime is deer do have summer ranges and winter ranges. You don't think of them as like elk or some of your migratory big game animals,
Right.
that are up in the mountains here, and then they move down into the valleys when it gets cold. But like deer do have specific ranges, and it may be based on the vegetation or the seclusion, the safety or whatever for them. And so they do move in and out, but I mean, a lot of what they're using is their nose.
Right.
I won't say we stink to them, but we certainly smell different to them.
Oh, absolutely.
You can use
got
all
shampoo, that, lotion.
You can use all the sprays and all that stuff. You can, but I mean, if you're walking in and one of the trails they use happen, and they know that they tie that scent to a human, is I'm just going to go somewhere else today.
Yeah,
And
they're
so,
smelling honey
yeah,
buns.
they're still there. They're just not where they're going a different route to get there. They're coming in at a different time. So, yeah.
Have you ever had a moment or a situation where you're like, you know what, maybe I'm done. Maybe this is no longer my thing. Have you ever had a moment like that?
If I always tell, the answer is no.
Okay.
Even though I'm to the point to where like I still like to go hunt and do things for myself. I'm at that giving back phase. Like I enjoy taking my wife or my kids hunting, even though my kids aren't gonna they're not gonna do anything. I'm just teaching them. But like my wife, who has not, she kind of really started hunting when we started dating, and just being able to take them, I enjoy that more. I get more excitement out of it. And I always tell people like, you've ever heard of the phrase buck fever, where like literally when a deer, and I don't care if it's a buck, doe, whatever, it's like they call it this fever because like literally your heart will start beating, your adrenaline starts pumping, your knees start knocking, and you really have to calm yourself down. And I always tell people like, if you're not getting that feeling in some sort of way,
Right.
you need to hang it up.
When the magic is gone and your
Yes.
body's telling you.
It's not because you're not excited anymore. It
Right.
doesn't. Why? What are you out there doing? I mean, maybe you're just feeding your family, and it's just it's like wringing a chicken neck or milking a cow. It's like
Right.
you're just doing it for the food. So I get that, but it's like if hunting
That's a
for
necessity at that
Right.
time. But yeah.
But if it's something it's fun, hobby you like doing, it's like hang it up or try something else. If you're not
Yeah.
getting that rush anymore,
It's like when you see that bobber drop.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that kind of feeling. Yeah. So, yeah, if you ever lose that, then you need to find a different hobby.
What is something or the most beautiful thing you've seen? Because in my head, I'm going back to those sunrises through the trees. What is the most beautiful thing you've seen, either while hunting, on the trail with your family? What was something that's like, oh, that's going in the heart memory box?
Man, and I've got to go landscapes here. There is a place, and I've been to a lot of national parks.
Right.
I've been to Europe. I've been to South America. I've been to Mexico, all hunting and hiking and things like that. And I got to go with landscapes. And like I always say that, I don't even really like traveling outside the U.S. because we have so many awesome landscapes here. But there's
very diverse.
up in the Panhandle in Texas, Palo Duro Canyon, the red canyons that are there. We have a friend who used to have a place in the canyon near a town called Silverton, and like just those landscapes and seeing the sun rise or set over canyons. Same thing with mountains or whatever, but just like that red soil. I mean, it's that clay mixing with the sun. It's really hard to beat. So, sunsets, sunrises over some sort of canyon or mountainscape that's my go-to. And there's lots of places where you can see that, but that's one in Texas. That's probably the closest one to us.
Yes, isn't it one of the biggest, if not the second biggest, after, of course, the Grand Canyon?
In the United States,
Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah, because there's up there's Palo Duro Canyon and then Caprock Canyon,
Oh,
and both of
okay.
them have their state parks at both of them, so anybody can go up there. Their state parks, so they're kind of part of one canyon system that goes through, and it's I think it's the Brazos that cuts through there. If I'm not mistaken, so it's like the ranch that we're on. It's like the Prairie Dog Town Salt Fork of the Brazos River, I think, is the part of the river that's called. I'm probably butchering that, but but yeah, I used to think that the Grand Canyon was the granddaddy of them all, and
Right.
going to work for work, I used to go to Mexico a lot for a client who had a tungsten mine down in Sonora,
Oh, that's cool.
Mexico, and flying over. It's called the. It's like I forget I can't remember the name of the canyon that's down there, but it's like 5 times larger than the Grand Canyon. It's Copper Canyon,
Copper Canyon.
and they have. I haven't done it yet, but you can get train rides that kind of go through it. Train rides with like cabins on them.
Yes.
I think I want to say maybe you go out of Durango or somewhere in Mexico, but I had some people that we worked with had taken their families on them, but 5 times larger than the Grand Canyon. I've been to the Grand Canyon, and if you ever want to feel insignificant,
Yeah.
go to a canyon.
If you want to feel like a drop in the ocean, that's the place to do
Right.
it. Goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, I think next, okay, if you were to pick up your family, scoop them up, without, thinking about your job, your location, where would you want to kind of plant your family with the perfect landscape, the perfect view? Would it be Palo Duro Canyon, or would it be somewhere else that we have not talked about?
It'd probably be Colorado.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't quite hear the sun, and I'm probably. If you ask me that in the winter, it's probably
Yeah.
a different story. But since it's 105 degrees outside, I'm going to go somewhere cooler right now. If it's in the winter, I'd be saying something different. But probably Colorado. I mean, we've always said that if we, put, drop everything, cut work, cut politics, cut family, distance from family out, it'd be like Colorado's probably where I'd want to be. There's just so much to do, so much to see around there. We saw a moose. Every year I've gone up of
Yes.
moose's bucket list, a bull moose, and we got to see a bull moose at less than 50 yards in the middle of the lake, and they eat stuff off the bottom of lakes. They're great swimmers, and they
Yeah.
eat stuff off the bottom, and they'll stick their head under for 2 minutes.
It's crazy.
yeah.
And their nostrils are so massive. You'd
Huge.
think they would just,
Yeah,
full
you
of
think
water.
they'd suck it in, but they're aquatic. They're amphibians, as far as I'm concerned.
yes, they're
so,
like hippos almost.
yeah.
That's amazing. Because I saw Jesse and I was telling you about my honeymoon with my husband and how we went to Colorado, and I saw so many different elk and huge racks, but I did not see a moose. That was on my bucket list, but I didn't see it. How tall was it?
They're 7 feet tall.
Crazy.
Not at the shoulder, but
Right.
when their heads up and whatever, they're 7 feet. And there was a group of people that had gotten really close, really close, 10 yards, taking pictures, and he's shaking his head and
You
stuff.
better back up.
And we had the kids, so we just kind of backed up. We're going to go a different route and kind of give this guy space. And he actually got mad and bolted out of the water and ran, kind of split these people. And he was taller than every person there.
That's
at the
wild.
shoulder. So it's just, they're huge.
They're massive.
Yeah.
To wrap up, because I think we've been chatting for a hot minute. Yeah, we're almost out of time, which is perfectly fine, because I wish we could talk more just about nature and everything else. If there's one thing you want to leave us on, a note, whether it's, something you want people to know about nature, conservation, or just have a good night, what would you like to say to kind of end our evening, our conversation on?
The places I'm talking about, the places that you and I both like to see, while there are these national parks, and we saw last year attacks on the government trying to sell off some national parks to privatize some of that land. So, I mean, these things aren't forever, and it's really up to us to keep them to where everybody gets to enjoy them, whether it be national parks or different wildlife species, hunting, or just being able to see those things. You know, get involved. Don't stand on the sideline. There's lots of conservation. I'm not going. I'll preach for DSC because we're having a summer gala in Grapevine at the Gaylord Texan this weekend. Mm-hmm. We're leaving tomorrow to go up to Grapevine for the summer expo to do a bunch of conservation stuff, but I'll make that plug. But there's lots of conservation organizations. They're not all hunting. They don't have to be hunting organizations. Right. You know, if you just like to hike or bird watch, like there's something for you. So get involved.